In the city of Balashikha in the Moscow region, Deputy Chief of the Main Operational Directorate of the General Staff of the Russian Federation Yaroslav Moskalik was killed as a result of a car explosion. According to Reserve Colonel of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, pilot-instructor Roman Svitan, the Ukrainian Special Services eliminated the Russian officer because he is a terrorist. This is already, one might say, routine work for our special services, liquidation operations. It is carried out using such methods, among other things. Moreover, such actions occur practically every day or two in Russia. Well, when some generals, let's say, from the headquarters, and with such an epic surname, is caught, these are terrorists. There is no point in taking them for interrogations and dragging them through the courts. A terrorist, like a mad dog, must be destroyed, the expert said in Fabrika Novostey. He claims that over several decades, Ukrainian special services have eliminated practically all terrorists who were involved in the genocidal attack on Ukraine, and this is not 100,000. Moreover, as the reserve colonel emphasizes, this list includes not only citizens of the Russian Federation. The expert acknowledged that the general eliminated on April the 25th is a fat target, although in general more than 1,000 participants in the terrorist war against Ukraine have been destroyed on the territory of the Russian Federation over 3 years. As Svitan noted, simply not all targets of the Ukrainian special services are included in the corresponding statistics. At the same time, according to Svitan, Moskalik's subordinates as well as other Russian officers do not regret the loss very much, since his disappearance is a real chance to advance up the career ladder. When such a big shot is taken down, a whole chain of Russian generals, colonels and so on will move up one notch. That is, for them, this is an opportunity to improve their position, material and status. That is, by and large, all the subordinates of such Russian big shots dream of someone minus them. There is too big a bench there. That is, everyone is trying to somehow get on some kind of cash flow, and this is specifically money, Svitan emphasized. Ukraine is expected to continue liquidating Russian generals implicated in war crimes. The overall effectiveness rate of countering shaheeds in the defense forces of Ukraine is over 90%. This was reported by Ukrainian military expert Oleg Kadirov. Aviation, in particular F-16 and Mirage, can intercept only 2 categories of targets: cruise missiles and shaheeds. Only 13 shaheeds out of 145 reached their targets. This is less than 10%. That is, the overall effectiveness of countering shaheeds by the defense forces is more than 90%. This is a very high figure, he said on air at Ukrainian radio. It is also important, he said, where exactly these missiles were targeted. It's one thing to shoot down a missile that flies to the west of Ukraine and passes through Ukrainian territory for a long time, but it's another thing when the target of a cruise missile is Kharkiv, which is 30 to 40 kilometers from the front line, the expert noted. He argues that the only Patriot missile that is guaranteed to destroy a warhead is the MCE, which is currently being produced at a rate of 500 units per year. And that's all the production. Japan can also produce 30 such missiles per year from American components. It is also possible to use PAC-2 missiles to intercept ballistic targets. 240 of them are produced per year. There are no plans to increase their production this year. Only in 2026 will joint production begin in Europe, which will add another 150 missiles by 2027. That is, the missile resource is very limited, Kadirov said. According to the analyst, the areas where ballistic missiles are launched to Kiev are the Bryansk, Voronezh and Kursk regions. They are not launched from Baikonur. This is the Iskander operational tactical missile system, which lifts the missile in 10 minutes launches, and in 5 minutes it is already gone. Counter-battery warfare against ballistic missiles is not just a task with an asterisk, but with many asterisks. Therefore, when it comes to fighting the Archer, it is about destroying not only the launchers, but also the defeat of key Russian enterprises at great depth. Here we need serious tools, like tomahawks. The expert said that Russia produces about 150 missiles of different types every month. At the same time, he does not use such a quantity of missiles. This means that the accumulation has been going on for quite a long time. Practice shows that the enemy can finish shooting the next day what he did not finish shooting the first day. The pace can be once a week. In fact, we have round-the-clock attacks, since the enemy uses drones daily. He added, the Russian authorities are afraid to carry out a new mobilization because they perceive veterans of the war against Ukraine as a threat. The invader military Z blogger Zatoslav Golikov said this in an interview with the Russian TV channel Stalingrad, responding to the host's words that Russian soldiers returned from the war against Ukraine completely different. They have seen a lot and are not afraid of many things. It seems that the state views these people as a factor of internal political risk. For some reason, veterans are seen as a threat. This is so at odds with the words that SVO veterans are the pride of the country. As is known, Golikov systematically spreads military propaganda and calls for escalation of the war against Ukraine. His Telegram channel has more than 62,000 subscribers. The invader dreams of capturing Odessa and liquidating Ukraine. Let us recall that a number of pro-war Telegram channels accuse the Russian authorities of weakness, indecisiveness, and betrayal of the national interests of the country. The so-called war correspondents and ultra-nationalists are outraged that the highest levels of power are allegedly ready for a freeze of the war or secret negotiations while they demand fighting to the end. Russian President Vladimir Putin fears the end of the war due to the domestic political situation in the aggressor state, where roughly a third of society seeks the total annihilation of Ukraine. Ukrainian political scientist Vadim Denisenko says that 30 to 35% of Russian hurrah patriots want the war to persist until Ukraine is completely destroyed, with some of them forming the backbone and support base of Putin's electorate, while others are anti-Putin in their stance. The end of the war in the spring of 2025 could lead to quiet or silent resistance within the Russian Federation. And the Kremlin bloc responsible for domestic policy does not understand how to return the country to a peaceful course at this point, or what to do with these people, the expert noted. Due to fear of his proactive minority, Denisenko believes the Kremlin has decided that the war must continue. For Putin, it's typical to delay making a decision when he doesn't know what to do, postponing it for an indefinite period. In this case, at least until the end of the year. The political scientist suggested. In addition, according to Vadim Denisenko, a group of hawks, advocates for continuing the war, has formed around Putin. These people have significant influence over Putin and reinforce his belief that a summer counter-offensive must be pursued, he noted.